Go for it, Jennifer.
Great. Thank you so much, Dallas. Thank you, everyone who is tuning in. I do want to apologize for the slight delay. Some of our presenters had some extremely bad weather where they are located. So they are having, some of them there are a few technical difficulties that some folks are working through right now on their end. So with that, Dallas, can I have my presentation, please? Thank you. So tonight we're here for a neighborhood meeting, virtual neighborhood meeting for a proposed Take 5 car wash. Next slide. So this is our agenda for the evening in terms of who we all are. I'm Jennifer Hewitt-Apperson. I'm a principal planner here in Planning and Development Services. I am facilitating this neighborhood meeting tonight. On the city side, we have Kristen Cody, who is a senior planner in our department, who is listening in. And then we have Dallas Stiles, who is our digital video live stream specialist, who keeps all of our technology running. With that, I'll turn it over to Jonathan to discuss his team, to introduce his team.
Yes, so good afternoon. My name is Jonathan. I'm with Morrison Associates. I'm actually part of the architectural design, so part of the designers. And here with us, we have Drew and Joseph. They actually are with Driven Brands, which is the developer trying to develop this Take 5 car wash in Longmont.
Great, thank you so much. So in terms of our overview and format, this is a live stream meeting, which means that it is being broadcast via YouTube. That also means it's being recorded. So if you have any neighbors who aren't able to tune in this evening, or if you would like to watch this meeting again, it will be available on the City of Longmont YouTube channel. As I mentioned, this is a live stream meeting. So the format is that I will present basically an overview of the project and go and describe the process should this project move forward, at which point we'll turn it over to the applicant team, and they will go into more detail about the specifics of their proposal. And at that point, we'll describe what the next steps in the process would be, and we will open it up for public comments and questions. How that works is a slide will be posted onto the screen with call-in instructions, and we will take a 5-minute break to give people time to get in the phone queue, at which point we'll come back, listen to your comments and questions, answer them as best we can, and then we will end the meeting. And as I mentioned, a recording will be available on the City of Longmont YouTube channel. Next slide. So in terms of where this project is located, it is at the southeast corner of East 3rd Avenue and Ken Pratt Boulevard. It is it's a little less than 1.5 acres. Next slide. So the zoning on this property is mixed use employment, which is one of our mixed use zones. It allows for a variety of commercial uses. It has a number of secondary uses that are also allowed. Next slide. So in terms of this particular project, it sounds like there might have been some changes from what's on here. So the applicant will go into additional detail and correct this information if it is incorrect. But an automated tunnel car wash with vacuum stalls is being proposed with access from Iron Horse Drive and stacking. And the original proposal was for 30 cars. But again, that may have changed. So I will let the applicant describe what they are proposing currently. Next slide. So this particular proposal will require approval as a conditional use. Car washes within 250 feet of a residential zone require approval as a conditional use. They're generally approved. They're generally a use that is by right in this particular zoning district, but because its location, there are some location criteria that trigger additional review processes. And this is one of those that has to go through that additional review process. So conditional uses do require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. As part of it being a conditional use, we may impose conditions to ensure compatibility with or mitigate any impacts on adjacent uses. Next slide. So in terms of the overall process, a pre-application meeting was held in October 2022. We are currently at the neighborhood meeting. I've communicated with quite a few community members regarding where we are in this particular process, and we are still in the pre-application process. So the city of Longmont requires that applicants hold a neighborhood meeting for development proposals of this type that require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council prior to submitting the application. And this serves a few purposes, one of which is to enable the potential applicant and the city to hear from the public and really understand what the community concerns are, and answer any questions, clarify any information that's out there as well. So following this neighborhood meeting, the team will be able to submit a formal application for this particular project. Upon application submittal, once it's deemed to be sufficient for review, which means it meets all of our requirements for an application, has all of the necessary background documents and plan components, it will undergo review by the Development Review Committee. This frequently takes a couple of rounds. It's not a quick review process typically. It will take several months at a minimum to get through this process. Usually, there are typically about 3 review cycles before the commission, the Development Review Committee, refers the application to the Planning and Zoning Commission for public hearing. So Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing and make a decision at one of their regular meetings. They do meet on the 3rd Wednesday, typically, of the month. If this application moves forward and is scheduled for public hearing, you will be notified of it. Additionally, when an application is submitted, we do require a notice of development application under review, both to be mailed and posted in terms of signs. That same type of notice will occur for the public hearings as well. So there is an appeal period. Planning and Zoning Commission decisions can be appealed under certain circumstances to City Council. I won't go into all of those different requirements because they are fairly detailed and they are within our code and we just aren't there yet. So that said, it is a process. We do listen to public input, and we want to make sure that our uses adjacent to residential, especially, are designed in a way to mitigate impacts to the maximum possible extent. So, next slide. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant team and let them discuss their project.
Hey, Jeff, I see you're talking. Check your microphone. It doesn't sound like anything's coming through. Make sure that's not coming through your headphones or something else. Try now. I think I heard some.
Okay, you hear me?
There it is. Perfect.
Okay. So what we're proposing here is a Take 5 car wash, obviously at the southeast corner of East 32nd Avenue and Highway 119, which is Ken Pratt Boulevard. It's on 1.46 acres. Currently, it's a vacant lot. We're proposing, as you see here, it's a 90-foot prototype, which is 3,317 roughly square feet. With a main tower. The main tower is 29 foot with a secondary height on the opposite end, 25.4 with the field height of 20'6". The colors represented here are the colors typically used on their prototypes. Go to the next slide. So this is, again, these are kind of typical of the building design, which you would see in your neighborhood. Next slide. Next slide. So obviously this is kind of a rendition of not necessarily this site, but a site that you would be seeing within your community. Again, it's a 90-foot prototype. We have 15 parking spaces with 2 handicap spaces within that 15 and 10 vacuum stalls. If you can look into the area across from the building, those would be your vacuum stalls. We have 15 of those with for a total of 25 total spaces. 15 again were vacuum spaces. I'm sorry, 10 were vacuum spaces and 15 are the normal parking spaces. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. There's your typical elevations, dimensions, heights, as I had previously spoke about. Next slide. A few more elevations. Next slide. So this is the actual site. Iron Horse Drive is to your south. We have one access point to go through the tunnel. That's kind of the northeast side of that site, with the southern entry exit to access the stalls and to exit the site. Again, this is a 90-foot prototype with, again, showing the layout of the vacuum stalls and the regular parking. We do have ancillary structure that houses the dumpster enclosure and the vacuum canopy equipment. That would be facing Iron Horse Drive, just kind of the southwest corner of the building. Next slide. This is the typical signage package that we put together, the color schemes of the actual Take 5. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And next slide. Next slide. This is the typical signage we use to kind of maneuver people through the site. So there's no confusion off of either Iron Horse Drive or within the site. Next slide. And there would be where we're proposing the different signage throughout the property, on the building, and throughout the site to kind of help maneuver, like I said, throughout the site, coming in, going to the vacuum stalls, and exiting the site. Kind of typical of kind of what we use, directional signs, obviously the signs for the actual store. Next slide.
That is all I have here.
Okay. To kind of wrap up, like Jennifer had mentioned, this is a parcel that's zoned for MUE, which is mixed use employment. Car washes, again, are permitted within this zoned area, with obviously the requirement that she had mentioned that we have additional submittal for conditional use application to the planning department to kind of render their decision whether or not they believe we kind of fit into the community. And I believe that's what we have. If there's any questions or comments.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see, I'll take my next slide, Dallas. All right, we're going to shift into the public comment portion of this neighborhood meeting, just in terms of some general ground rules. We follow the same rules as City Council, so 3 minutes per speaker. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and where you live. And please keep your questions and comments related to the current proposal and application. With that, next slide. All right, so here is the information or the instructions on how to call into this meeting. And we are going to take a 5-minute break. You'll dial into that number. When prompted, you'll enter the meeting ID. And when it asks for participant ID, press the pound sign, and you will be put in the queue to speak. And once we come back from our break, Dallas will be the one who lets you into the meeting so you can speak. He will call you in by the last 3 digits of your phone number. So with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break and give folks time to get in the speaking queue. Thank you.
Sure thing. And for those that are listening, the number is 1-888-788-0099. When you get in, the meeting ID will be 892-9167-3571. We're going to take a break for 5 minutes. Feel free to call in now.
Thanks, Dallas.
Thank you. We got about 20 seconds until we are going to go live again. For anyone that is still trying to call in, that number again is 1-888-788-0099. So you can hear that was my timer going off there. The meeting ID is 892-9167-3571. I do see we have a bunch of callers in. So if applicants and Jennifer, if you guys want to come on back, we'll get started in just a second.
Thanks, Dallas.
Sure thing. So we are going to lock this down. If you're in the meeting, make sure that you mute your live stream. So if you're hearing me on your phone or however you're calling in, make sure you're muting the live stream that you were watching on so we don't get a feedback loop. You'll also be addressed by the last 3 digits of your phone number, which I know we talked about before. So when I ask you to, you'll hit *6 to unmute, and it'll give you a little prompt because I'll ask you to do that. So with that, we're going to have our first caller with the last 3 digits, 313. Caller 313, if you hit *6 to unmute.
And Dallas, real quick, could you put the applicant slide that has the site plan, has the rendering of the site plan on it?
Yeah, give me just a second for that.
Thank you. I think that will be helpful.
Sure. Well, I get that. Caller 313, I see you are with us. Is this the site plan you're looking for, Jennifer?
The one that was more the renderings, actually. Let's see.
I'm with you.
Perfect. If you wouldn't mind state this one.
Yeah, that one.
Perfect. Great. So caller 313, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and your address for the record, and then you will have 3 minutes to state your question or comment.
My name is Steve Howen, Howen, and I'm at 234 Maggie Street.
Thanks, Steve. Go for it.
And my initial comment is that the conditional use variation is, I'm sure, due to traffic and noise in a residential area. And that's my problem with it. I'm not a not in my backyard person, but this is a singularly poor use of that particular parcel of land. Additionally, it has an access or 2 access points that are in the neighborhood. So we have in a neighborhood a commercial operation that the breeze through car wash down the road on Ken Pratt, you can hear in traffic with the windows closed of your car. And I want to know how that is going to be mitigated in a residential area. Additionally, the increased traffic in an area that sees a lot of car wrecks on 3rd and Ken Pratt is a problem. And the cars are now coming into a neighborhood where there are children. And that's my issues with this. And I want to know how that is going to be mitigated or allowed. I understand that Longmont is pro-growth. This is a poor use of this parcel of land.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. We're going to move on to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits, 362. Caller 362, if you wouldn't mind hitting *6 to unmute. Hey there.
Hi, this is John Thieme. I'm at 307 Sugar Bin Court.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Hey, I appreciate the first caller asking about traffic and noise. Just to follow up on that, how many vehicles per day does the developer need to make this a profitable site? And secondly, I'm more concerned, I'll take runoff water just being directly downhill from this site and just having watched the ditch behind my house run high. What's the plan for mitigating more concrete, more runoff from yet more storms? That's all I have.
Great. Thank you. We have a bunch of callers, so if applicants, you wouldn't mind just writing some of these questions down and responding to them at the end, that would be great. We're gonna keep on going. So our next caller is caller 665. Caller with the last 3 digits 665. If you would hit *6 to unmute, please. Hello.
Yes, hi. My name is Matt Eldred. I live at 318 Carter Lane here in Mill Village, and I have 2 questions similar to the previous callers. But I'm interested to hear about the traffic flow, if there have been any studies done about this and the amount of traffic flow, and specifically about the entrance and exits off of Iron Horse Drive and how that might affect the intersection of 3rd and Ken Pratt Boulevard. I'm also really interested to hear about the detention pond or drainage system that is being proposed, if it's being proposed to go into the oligarchy ditch, which I think is the ditch that the previous caller was asking about, or if it will be detention pond on the site, and how that will be then the drainage and the runoff, especially for a site that I'm assuming will have a lot of water every day, even on days that there are not rain. So specifically about the drainage and detention and the traffic flow. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. We will keep on going. Now we're going to go caller with the last 3 digits 730. Caller 730. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hi, my name is. Hi, I live on 1600 Iron Horse, just right there.
And what was your name again?
My Penny Louise.
Thank you, Penny. Go for it.
And my concerns are similar to the other callers, with the traffic, obviously, in the neighborhood, the noise from the wash and the vacuums, because those things like squeal all day. And yeah, it's something that you can hear through windows, through doors, things like that. My other concern is the trash. People will be cleaning out their cars, and, you know, yes, it might go into a trash can, it might not, but just the increase of the possibility of the trash blowing around the place with high winds, or just people not paying attention and just dumping it out. So those are my 3 concerns: the noise, the squealing, the trash, and the traffic.
Thanks, Penny. Okay. We're going to keep on going. We're going to go to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits 860. Caller 860. If you'd hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Yes, this is Wendell Pickett. I was the original developer and still an owner of 1600 Iron Horse, the entire complex there that's adjacent to this along Iron Horse Drive. I have submitted a letter of concerns, and now, given this visual that I have seen, I have a couple of others to reiterate my initial concerns. I do think that a car wash is a nice amenity, but I am very concerned about truly screening it along Iron Horse Drive from the site plan. I didn't see any kind of true screening of this entire area where the cars will be staged. I'd like to understand how you deal with the sound, such as, you know, music and noise from those idling cars sitting there coming into the car wash. I'm also concerned about the vacuum and the mechanical noise, how that's mitigated, and the I think you said a 29-foot tower there that has your sign up on it that's I presume lit, but how that exactly would play in, because I think that's not exactly the visual, you know, what I would like to have outside the project, or have glow throughout the night. Since we're not in a commercial downtown area, I don't think that's additive. So those are my concerns.
Great. Thank you. And we are going to keep on going. Let's see. Next one is 006. Caller 006. Do you mind hitting *6 to unmute? Hello.
Hi, this is Jim Blanchard from 1600 Iron Horse Drive. My apartment is the building that is closest to the property. I'm up on the 3rd floor, and I'm very concerned about all of the motor noise, the exhaust noise of the facility itself. Looking at what that plan layout was, I'm not sure which direction the exit is in, but there's a large blower that's going to be at that end to blow the water off the cars. And those things make a tremendous amount of noise. And I'm very concerned about being able to enjoy my property here just because of that on its own. It would be a near incessant droning all day. And it seems like, as many people have said already, this is a very bad use of this kind of project that would be so close to our residential areas. But that's about all I have to say. I reiterate every concern that I've heard so far as well.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. So I received a call from a gentleman who was trying to get into the call queue and wasn't able to. So we are going to reopen that call queue right now so that folks can call in. Dallas, could you throw that slide with the call-in information back up, and then we'll continue to take calls while folks are getting back in line. Thank you.
Sure thing. So give me just a second to reorient my list of callers. I believe we're at 714, caller 714. If you would hit *6 to unmute, please. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Hello. My name is Thomas Plaskett. I'm a resident at 1613 Kiley Drive. We share the same concerns as all the previous callers, but we have a more specific concern about the lighting coming from the facility itself, as well as the image that was just up on the internet shows about 9 posted lights around the facility. And the gentleman that was calling before talked about the lighting of the tower. That's an awful lot of lights, and it's pretty bright and pretty close to some houses and apartments. We also want to understand, when that car wash uses those soaps, there's a lot of fragrance that comes out of there. How will that be mitigated? My wife is very sensitive and will likely be allergic to something like that. So it needs to be mitigated before it leaves the facility. We are also concerned about how close it is to the first residence there off of Sugar Bend. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, we're going to keep on going. Our next caller is caller 177. Caller with the last 3 digits 177. If you would hit *6 to unmute, please. Caller with the last 3 digits of their phone number 177. If you're there, please hit *6 to unmute. Okay, we're going to come back to caller 177. We're going to go to caller with the last 3 digits 415. Caller 415. If you would please hit *6 to unmute. Hey there.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Okay, my name is Bo Blackwell. I live at 230 Maggie Street.
Go right ahead, Bo.
Okay, yeah, I share all of the same concerns as the other people that have spoken, especially around the noise and the lighting. I think it's way too close to houses and apartments to be an effective spot for an operation like this. And I don't quite understand why the developers chose this spot as opposed to the much more commercial areas very close nearby, like near the Costco or near the Walmart that's just a half-mile east. There's a whole business park area very close nearby. So, with all of the potential concerns around traffic coming right through the neighborhood, one thing that I don't think was really addressed was how they're going to deal with the flow of cars waiting to pull into the lot, because that's not a whole lot of room for cars to wait until they're just out on the street that people have to drive across to get in and out of the neighborhood. People are out with their kids, walking their dogs, things like that. So really just the placement seems like a really poor spot compared to all of the potential commercial and mixed use properties that are around and nearby that would be a lot easier to get into and out of. And I think those are my main concerns.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate it. We're going to keep going with our callers. Callers, if you did call in, I do see you're in the waiting room now, so don't cancel. There are a few of you there. I just want to make sure I get through these guys first before letting you guys in, because it'll mess with our order a little bit. So I want to get to caller with the last 3 digits, 781. Caller 781, if you would hit *6 to unmute, please. Hey there.
Hi, my name is Abby Shapiro. I live at 223 Cattail Court.
Thanks,
and
Abby.
I
Go
think,
for it.
you know, I just want to echo kind of everything that everyone's already said. I'm obviously really concerned about this project. I've got a 2-year-old daughter. You know, this is a route that we as a family with our dog like to walk on almost a daily basis. And now seeing that the entry and exit would be on Iron Horse, it's honestly even more concerning because of all the influx of cars now coming through our neighborhood. I think part of the appeal when we moved into this neighborhood was how quiet it was, not a lot of traffic coming through, especially having a young child. I'm very concerned. And I echo everyone else, you know, I'm a bit further away, but I still am worried about the noise and the water and everything. I kind of agree that this is a really poor use for that space, bringing all this traffic into a residential neighborhood when we do have these business parks, Costco, Walmart right down the street. It just doesn't seem to fit. So that's kind of my concerns. No questions, just overall really concerned about the project. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we're going to go on to our next caller. Our next caller with the last 3 digits, 218. Caller 218, if you would hit *6 to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Oksana Hitzevich. I live at 311 Sugarban Court. And I already voiced my concern to Jennifer in an email, but I'm just going to voice it here as well. So, you know, our neighborhood is primarily residential, and just having a car wash business, it just does not fit into our neighborhood. And from architectural standpoint, it's residential, and like everybody said before me, there's plenty of other spaces where the car wash would fit better. And as we all know, car washes work 7 days a week, all day. That would mean there would be a significant noise increase from the car wash. It would just be disturbing to all of our community. There would be a constant stream of cars idling in our community. It means increased car exhaust fumes and decreased air quality. So like the previous caller said, you know, no more walks with your kids, no more walks with your dogs, just because there's cars all the time nearby. And then since the car wash business involves using water and dumping water, I'm also concerned about the water waste and the likelihood of water contamination problems. So there could be a small risk of accidental contamination of water with engine oils, heavy metals, and, you know, that could bring a detrimental effects to multiple communities that are located in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to add our new callers in. While they're coming in, we did have one that we skipped earlier, caller 177. Caller 177. If you would hit *6 to unmute, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. This is Story Blackwell. I'm at 230 Maggie Street. I'm echoing many of the concerns that my neighbors have put forth already. My main concerns are around the traffic. Looking at the breeze through car wash that's further down Ken Pratt, the lines leading into that are quite long and extensive, especially on weekends. which looking at the drawing of how this car wash is being laid out, would have cars extending further down Iron Horse Drive alongside all of the apartments that are there, leaving idling cars with their noise and pollution right outside people's apartments, limiting their usage of their decks. I also have young kids who ride their bikes through the neighborhood. They're old enough now to ride on their own. I know that hill coming out down Iron Horse Drive is one of their favorites. And I've always been concerned about them, even on the sidewalk with the traffic on that street, and caution them to be careful. But I don't think that they'll be able to use that anymore. And honestly, with the number of cars that might be entering other points in the neighborhood to access the car wash, would be really nervous about them riding their bikes around. Additionally, like some of my neighbors have mentioned, the visual impact of that being the entrance to our neighborhood, that signage is really bright. The colors are really bright, and I'm sure it's inviting in a different location, but it's not what I'd like to see have the entrance to our neighborhood be. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Okay, we have a few more callers that just called in. Callers, if you just got into our meeting, please make sure that you mute your live stream. So you're listening to me on your phone, make sure that your live stream going on in the background, you turn that off so we don't get a weird feedback and it's hard to communicate with each other. I'm going to start with, let's see, where did the list gets a little bit messed up, but I have your numbers here. So the caller with the last 3 digits, 727. Caller 727, if you would please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello. My name is Brandy Reyes. I live at 241 Harvest Street in Mill Village. I mean, a lot of folks have already said all the things on my mind, but I just want to reiterate that one of the reasons that my husband and I moved to this neighborhood was how quiet it is and how safe it felt to walk around. We have 2 dogs, and we like to enjoy our outdoor space and grilling. And as Coloradans, I mean, our outdoor space is really important to us. And this is just going to make it a nightmare to be outside at any point. Number one, with the vacuum noise alone, it's going to be a lot of just aggravating noise. And then on top of that, we like to walk our dogs. I know a couple other of my neighbors have mentioned that as well. This is a great neighborhood for dog owners, and we all go out and walk our dogs, and it's a safe place to walk them. Not only with the increased traffic does it make it less safe for us to walk our dogs, it also makes it less safe with the chemicals from the runoff water of the car wash, which is a big thing. I think the environmental impact of this alone should stop this project. I think we have enough car washes. But I also just think that this is absolutely not the zone for this. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to our next caller. Our next caller is has the last 3 digits of, appears we're losing some callers. Our last 3 callers just all dropped at the same time. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. If it isn't, guys, the code is still up. You can recall in. I'll leave it for about another minute just in case. But for right now, applicant team, would you guys like to respond to those questions and comments?
And if I could just summarize real quick, I'm going to summarize the concerns I've heard. So traffic, noise is a big one, noise from both the tunnel car wash, also from the vacuums, traffic as far as the access adjacent to the residential neighborhoods. Let's see, stormwater detention, drainage, how the wastewater from the actual car wash will be addressed, lighting, let's see, lighting and again, yeah, noise and traffic, or noise, traffic, water runoff issues are big concerns. It looks like we do have 1 caller that's coming to the waiting room, Dallas. If you want to let him in real quick, or her.
Sure thing. So caller, this is caller 557. Caller 557, if you're there, make sure to mute that live stream in the background and hit *6 for us, please, to unmute. Caller with the last 3 digits, 557. If you're there, do you mind hitting *6 to unmute? Hello.
Hello.
Do you mind stating your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Jeremy McGee. I'm at 300 Harvest Street.
Great. Jeremy, you have 3 minutes. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So my wife and I are some of the original residents in this neighborhood. We were here when our house was built.
Jeremy, it looks like you just muted halfway through that sentence. Do you mind hitting *6 again?
Okay, here we are.
Go for it.
All right, yeah. So my wife and I, we've lived here since the Mill Village was built. We're some of the last remaining original people living here. So we've seen quite a bit of change here. We opposed the apartments being built. Actually, we were.
Jeremy, it looks like we lost you again.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great. We can hear you again.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I mean, we were in the whole discussions with the Iron Horse Apartments being built and had concerns about that. We had concerns about the Walmart being built, and then the additional apartments now to the west of us. And we were actually told when they were building the apartments over at Iron Horse that, you know, it could be worse. We could build a gas station here, and they kind of used that as a. So with them now saying we want to use this unused space to build a car wash, it seems ridiculous. I mean, we feel like we've kind of conceded to a lot of changes in the original zoning and the original plans for this neighborhood, and this is almost like a slap in the face to say, okay, yeah, we're going to just cram this obnoxious car wash in here, just you know, shoehorn it in here. It just doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the development here, and it would be a sad thing to see it added to this community.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay,
yeah.
So that is our last caller. Yeah, you bet. So as our last caller, yeah, I'm going to drop this slide for you guys to have the opportunity to respond to question and comments. We do still have a few callers that are in the in our participant window. After questions and comments are responded to, callers, you can hit *9 to raise your digital hand. If you have a follow-up, it'll be 1 minute. With that, yeah, go ahead, Jennifer and team.
Great. So I'm going to turn it over to the applicant team. If you let me know if there's a particular slide that Dallas needs to have up on the screen for you to reference, we can definitely do that. But otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and Drew and Joseph to respond to questions and comments.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'll go ahead and kind of address some of the common issues that I hear at these meetings, if you don't mind putting just the overall layout back on. Just for everybody that's on the line, listening, watching, my name is Andrew Barkley. I'm with Driven Brands, and I've heard a lot of valid concerns that anybody in the situation would bring up. So I'm hoping I can shed some light, hopefully give you some answers, help lessen some of your fears. Big thing's traffic, obviously, and that's the price you pay with development in any areas. And in this case, you know, we typically see about 50 to 100 cars a day is kind of a rough average on all sites, and those vary depending on location, size of the site. But we try to design it so that we don't have cars backed up onto the street. We try to provide adequate stacking, and where the entities have requirements, we have to meet those requirements for the number of stacking. One of the things that we do to keep traffic flowing, because obviously we don't want cars backed up either. It doesn't look good. It's not being a good neighbor, which we try to do the best we can. So we always have at least one attendant that is near the pay stations to help make sure that the people understand how to operate the kiosk to keep that traffic moving. That way people can just continue to go through the site, use our car wash without being an adverse neighbor with traffic. So that's one of the things that we take very seriously. We also, what we kind of push is, or monthly memberships that are even more convenient to go through the kiosk. You just get this little badge to allow you in, so you don't have to operate the pay machine. So that's something that our attendants also encourage to help with the traffic flow. Now, I don't think we've had a traffic study done yet. If for this particular site, if that is something that will be required, we will be glad to do that. We've done that. We've had to do that in many other sites and various jurisdictions to see what the impact would be. The other big thing that I hear a lot, and obviously tonight, is the noise, especially with the vacuums. I'll try to address all the comments about the noise. I know there are a lot of different issues. Hope I can cover them all. Without vacuums, we don't have the individual motors that are at each of the vacuum stalls. We have a centralized producer unit, which in this case, we're putting kind of toward the end of the tunnel next to the dumpster. So this is the primary piece of machinery that creates the noise for the vacuums. And they are behind typically an 8-foot tall concrete wall. We've had noise studies done to show that within 5 feet of the enclosure, it's no louder than a dishwasher, if that. So we do that to minimize the sound, because obviously, sound of vacuum cleaners, like at other car washes that have individual motors at each of the stalls, those are loud and obnoxious, and we try not to do that. And that's why over the years we've worked with suppliers and come up with ways to get the equipment to be minimal disturbance, and we always have an 8-foot concrete wall around that equipment. And at night, when the car wash is closed, the vacuum machine is turned off, so nobody can just drive up and use it, unlike 24-hour self-serve car washes with vacuum cleaners. Now, going back to the noise with the tunnel, especially the exit with the blower, that is also one of the louder pieces of machinery. We've also had sound studies to show that right outside the tunnel, they are very loud. So in this case, we do have it directed toward the 3rd Street, 3rd Avenue. And a lot of our sound studies on existing sites that we've built show that as you reach 120 feet from the exit of the tunnel, it is about the same as the ambient road noise. In this case, we're next to the highway, Ken Pratt Boulevard. So with the tunnel being facing towards the southwest of the site, the residents on the east won't be disturbed by that tunnel noise. We also have instances where, if it is still a problem, we do have some sound attenuators, sound attenuation equipment that can be installed by the manufacturer on the equipment to help reduce it a little bit more. And then another thing I did hear tonight was about the water runoff from the cars. One of the things that we do at all our sites is a reclaimed water system. It's a combination of 4 tanks with also with oil water filter. And we also have it's called a Pure Clean system, which uses the reclaimed water to clean it, to reuse. In fact, at our sites, we reduce water usage by at least 75% by using this reclaimed water system with the combination of this settling tanks and the Pure Clean system.
All right, are there any other Any other responses from any of the other team members before we open it back up for follow-up questions?
Yeah, just to follow up with what Andrew was talking about, the hours of operation are normally 7 to 7. And I think Driven Brands, they normally reduce lighting at closing. So the area lights, typical of other areas of like gas stations and whatnot, after hours when they kind of reduce lighting within the area, that is also a possibility within the site. I think Driven Brands also works with the community to kind of reduce signage if needed. And I think that's, the storm aspect. He had mentioned the 4 reclaim tanks, and also there's a 3,000 gallon oil interceptor that filters out all the oil and grit coming from the tunnel. And like he said, it uses those reclaim tanks to kind of save 75% of usage. So we don't want anything kind of flowing off within the site. There are storm lines around the property that we would be tying into, but I think we're also going to be working with and also required to have on-site detention as well. But again, everything should be kind of maintained within the site. I think somebody had mentioned landscaping and any buffering. That site plan was just kind of preliminary site plan to kind of show the layout, but we are going to abide by the City of Longmont's landscape requirements along Ken Pratt and also along the other major arteries in between Iron Horse and the community and on 3rd Avenue or 32nd Avenue. We also are required to extend the sidewalk on the north side and the south and east and west. So basically, we are going to be providing sidewalks surrounding our property to kind of maintain that continuity of the existing sidewalks within the area. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. I will also add that the City of Longmont does require what's called a photometric plan as part of all of our site plan submittals. Basically, that is an analysis showing light levels throughout the site. We do have quite strict lighting requirements to try to minimize basically light pollution, lead off, etc. Additionally, as Jeff mentioned, we do have, we would be evaluating and ensuring that this project, if it moves forward, will meet the City of Longmont's landscaping requirements as well as our buffering requirements, which have additional landscape in them. So there are, we do have a number of tools in our code to help mitigate some of these impacts. That said, again, this is a conditional use in this particular location. So ultimately, the final decision is with the Planning and Zoning Commission, but staff will be evaluating the site plan proposal to ensure that it's meeting all of our standards, and may also recommend additional conditions that will that would further mitigate impacts as well. So there are a few options as well. Obviously we don't have an application. I can't say what the city's position would be on this particular project, just simply because we aren't there yet. But in projects such as this, we do have a number of tools to use. The other thing Jeff mentioned, they are required to detain all of their water on site to make sure that it does not impact other properties nearby. So there would be on-site detention, on-site detention tools, water filtration through stormwater quality type things as well. And this is in addition to any of the wastewater facilities that are that they also incorporate as part of the actual car wash operation. So I will mention that our development review committee consists of planners and a number of engineers specializing in things such as utilities, stormwater, drainage, traffic, transportation. We also have our fire. We have public safety representatives from fire also taking a look at everything. So we do have a very multidisciplinary development review committee who will be looking very, very closely at this and all other proposals that we receive in the city. So with that, we'll allow folks about a minute each to ask follow-up questions, and we'll go from there.
Sure thing. So I'm seeing caller 860. You've got your hand up. Caller 860. I believe that's Wendell. Wendell, do you mind? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the presentation, folks. Two questions. One, I really appreciate a list of where you have these types of operations here locally. So maybe we could go see them and get a little more comfortable with exactly the operations and how they function. And two, my question is, given your limited parking and using the one down the road, can you tell us how parking actually works for all the employees? Because taking up all the parking on Iron Horse would even make Iron Horse more narrow for traffic and for the people who use it currently. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. And then we've got one more question and you guys can respond to that. So our question is coming from 730. 730, if you would hit *6 to unmute. I believe that's Penny.
Hi, yes, it's Penny again. So I was just kind of running the numbers. So we're looking at between 18,000 and 36,500 more cars per year coming through the neighborhood. And on the weekends, between 2,600 and 5,200 cars starting at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and Sunday. We also never addressed the trash issue that I brought up of people cleaning out their cars and possibly blowing around the neighborhood. And it also was never addressed of the air quality of the cars idling while they're doing that or waiting, and also people, playing their music or whatever while they're cleaning out their cars. That was never addressed either.
Thank you, Penny. All right, those are only follow-ups. Do you guys want to respond to that?
I think as far as parking for employees, I think typically max they have 5 employees per shift. And currently at this particular site, it looks like we have 15 spaces. 2 of those are handicap spaces. Some are off closer to the entrance, some are across the drive. So I think there's adequate amount of spaces for the actual employees to not bog down any of the queuing lanes or any of the vacuum stalls. Again, there's 10 vacuum stalls provided at this particular site. So again, the employees would be parking on site and would not be parking along Iron Horse Drive.
Could someone please speak to how you handle trash enclosures for the vacuuming areas, as well as any specific regulations or rules that your employees may be enforcing with regard to music and such from the vehicles?
As far as the trash at the vacuum stalls, we have trash cans at each of the vacuum poles, and we hope that the customers will use those with the trash in. Unfortunately, trash gets away. Being that this is one of our corporate sites, we do hold it to high standards, and so we make sure our employees will keep the site clean at the end of each day. And I'm not sure if Longmont requires or not, but some places do also require trash management plans for sites like this. And if that is a requirement, that's something that we will work to meet also as part of all the other requirements.
Thank you. I'm not aware that we have a trash management plan per se. We do have requirements as it relates to trash enclosures and such. So
And our dumpster is within an enclosure, 8-foot tall wall, just like the vacuum producer.
Okay. And as far as the noise, you have employees on site who would keep that in check.
Yes, obviously, if somebody is playing their music too loud and disturbing the other customers, we want to provide an overall satisfying service to all the customers. So our tenants will make sure that if there's somebody that's displaying or playing music too loud and bothering other people, to make sure that that issue is taken care of.
Great, thank you. Dallas, could you put my put the contact information slide up? Great, thank you. Do any of the other team members have any other comments regarding the questions that we've heard this evening? So I will say that part of our part of our requirements, I can't really go through every single thing we require with site plans because it is pretty exhaustive. We do require traffic impact studies. We do require so traffic impact studies, lighting plans. So we will be looking at these things. Obviously, our stormwater is a very, very important concern that we have engineers that look at as well. So we do also have an environmental planner who reviews, who is on our development review committee as well. So we do take, like I mentioned, a very multidisciplinary look at all of our development proposals. There was the question if you have any additional locations locally for the car washes. I know there are some of the oil change facilities that are either in development or constructed in the region, but I'm not familiar with the car washes.
Offhand, I don't know off the top of my head the closest one, but we do have some in the area. There is one about a half hour to the south in North Glen.
Okay. All right, well, we're getting ready to conclude this. I do have my contact information as well as the applicant contact on the screen. So if additional questions come up following this meeting, feel free to reach out to either of us. Probably Jonathan for the more project specific. I'm happy to talk about the review process and what our city requirements would be, et cetera. So with that, does the applicant team have any additional comments that they'd like to make before we conclude?
I think we're good. All right.
All right.
Yeah, I think we just kind of appreciate you guys giving us something to work towards. And
you froze up there, Jeff.
Hopefully our answers kind of made sense of some of the concerns, and we'll kind of go from there.
All right, thank you so much.
Cool.
So as I noted, here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out. As I indicated at the beginning of this meeting, this live stream has been recorded. So if you want to rewatch it at some point, it will be available on our city YouTube channel. If you have neighbors who weren't able to tune in but would like to get some more information, definitely point them in that direction as well. So with that, thank you so much for spending some time on your Thursday evening with us, especially one where it's not raining and hailing and storming. So thank you again. And again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. And if this application does proceed, there will be additional notices provided upon receipt and acceptance of the application as well. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you, Dallas, for keeping everything running. And thank you to the applicant team for being on hand to answer questions. Have a good evening.
Thanks all.